Um, well, I think, well, you said somewhere that for you it was really important that Magnolia got you focused on the idea of music and movies in a different way.
Yeah.
You once said that you started looking at songwriting from a different angle. Do you still recall the turning point? What song was it?
I don't know. I think it's just, you know, it's sort of like anything. If you do it a few times, you start to, it starts to become easier. And I think it's just interesting to have something like a totally different character or situation that takes you a little bit outside yourself so that you can go like, okay, how would I relate to this? And so it's just a little, I mean, it's kind of the same way I always write, but a little more challenging because it's not an, you know, like the initial germ of the idea comes from outside me. But, you know, I mean, I always have to be able to relate it to myself or a situation I can be, you know, that I can relate, you know, remember or relate to, or that I have to have something to do with it, you know, or it just isn't that interesting, or I don't know, then it's not realistic.
You mean that you can relate to in your own atmosphere?
Somehow, yeah, somehow.
But what is it for you? What sort of what characters do you have the most with on this album? What is
that I have the most in common with, or
no? I mean, what that you that you can relate to the most.
Well, there are a couple of songs that are about my. I have a friend who's a drug addict, and he was actually a big inspiration for some of the songs on Forgotten Arms. So there are a couple of songs that are about him, or kind of about him, inspired by him.
But I think Freeway, because that's
Freeway is, because I saw him. He moved to Los Angeles for a while, and then, you know, became like really obsessed with money. And I mean, he's always been obsessed with money, but Los Angeles, like if you're obsessed with money, Los Angeles is not the place to be because it just feeds into that kind of thing. So, you know, thinking about his obsession with money got me thinking about Los Angeles and just in general, the obsession with money and how hard it is to have any kind of like integrity or spiritual life in that atmosphere.
Have you ever lived there?
I live there now, yeah.
Okay. And how do you escape from it? Or how do you stay away from that feeling?
You just have to really deliberately try to gather friends around you that, you know, that you can form your own community. I mean, it's not that hard to avoid the other elements, but I don't know, just even going out to a coffee shop and then seeing people with plastic surgery or like those girls with those weird big lips, and it's very strange. They're like, it's like mutants. Like, like they're all sort of deformed in a way.
And do you speak to them? You say, well...
I don't think I really know people with plastic surgery. I mean, I probably do. I probably know somebody.
No, but sometimes it's even, well, it's nice to talk to them just to know what drives them. Maybe that you started a conversation once.
You kind of understand what drives them. I mean, Los Angeles is, you know, a company town, and the industry is the movie industry is, their job is to focus on how things appear as opposed to how things are. And that's their job, you know. And it's not that that's bad, it's just that when people adopt that for their whole, you know, for their real life, and then it's very easy to get confused, like what's real and what's not. What should I sacrifice for the appearance? You know, how far will I go? I mean, I do understand it. Like if your livelihood relies on your appearance, and then you feel like you are going to lose your job because you look older or whatever you're worried about, then you go like, okay, you know, it's worth it for me to get surgery. But I think what you lose sight of is like that there's a, you know, that comes with a cost that's kind of a spiritual one, and you don't always see it.
Have you always had this feeling about it, or?
And I don't mean like plastic surgery in general. It's not like I'm totally against plastic surgery. I mean, I don't really care that much, but I think focusing so much on how things appear as to how things are is really, really a problem. Like that you can really get off track.
And the friend that the song is about, is he still living in LA?
No, he lives in Canada. He moved back to Canada.
So now
I think he got arrested a couple of times. I mean, I'm not really sure what the story was. But I'm pretty sure he got arrested a few times.
What did he do then? Burglary?
I
or-
don't know. It's like you sort of don't want to know. I think what happened is he was causing some kind of disturbance. I mean, I don't know. God only knows.
So, but how did you know that?
He's
that-
lucky he's not in jail.
Okay, so but how did you know that he was arrested?
Well, you know,
Because you saw a mugshot and
No, I talk to him every now and then, and he was saying like, I can't, he lives in Canada and he's Canadian. I'm like, well, I can't really come back to the States, and I got into a little trouble, and I know he did get arrested. I just don't know exactly what it was, and he tries to make a joke out of it. Look, he's not very coherent.
but does he know that some songs are based?
Yeah.
And what does he think of it? Does he ever
I
tell
don't know.
you?
He knows that a couple of songs on the last record were based on like conversations we had. I don't think he minds. I think he knows I care about him, and it's kind of my way of dealing with it. It's not easy to see somebody you care about, kill themselves with drugs. So.
But I think it's an ongoing process still, years and years.
Oh yeah, I mean he's not. The last time I talked to him, he was sober. So I mean, you never know. Like you never know when people turn a corner. People get sober that you never think are going to get sober. I mean, who thought Robert Downey Jr. would actually stay sober? But he's sober now.
Yeah.
That's a miracle. I mean, just over and over and over. Like, what was the final thing? I don't know. Like nobody ever knows. And
Born again Christian.
It's not that. It's not that at all. I think it's sort of knowing. I think it's being realistic and going like, if I do it again, I know I won't be able to stop. I think you have to stop kidding yourself, and saying like, oh, it's under control, or I can do it just this once, or like one last time, or I don't know.
Have you had that struggle yourself maybe once?
No, that's
life?
not my
No?
thing.
Okay. What other songs are maybe about him? That's the last question about him, but I've written down some lines from the song, so I was thinking
Okay.
maybe what other songs are based on his story? Can you say a few
Columbus
songs?
Avenue is sort of about his friendship with this woman I know in San Francisco, and it was more about like her experience with him.
Which was?
She's a tattoo artist, and he used to come in and get tattoos. And when he first started going there, he was really liked, he was doing really well, or he appeared to be doing really well. And then she sort of saw him years later, and he was really not doing well. So it's just that kind of, I think he had moved, just like he moved to Los Angeles thinking, here's a whole new life, and I'm going to have this great life here. And then, the dream of that was gone. So it's just sort of the idea about people who place a lot of hope on changing locations, or like a certain town, a certain city that they romanticize, and they think this is going to do the trick. And then how do they look at that city later when it really doesn't work out that way?
So like saying sort of running away from your problems and
Yeah.
maybe hoping the city will.
Yeah, that the city itself will
Yeah.
do something